This is the third lecture in our sequence on value appropriation, concerning this week shifting our attention from questions of value appropriation, the appropriability regime, how to enforce uniqueness and scarcity using intellectual property, and now we're talking about tactics. We're shifting to questions of how do you choose a strategy that allows you to lever the competitive advantages offered by your technology in ways that allow you to seize and maintain a valuable competitive position. A fellow who turned out to be a master of this is an interesting fellow. See this hairbag? This picture, circa 2005, happens to be a fellow who you know. His name, Jack Dorsey. Jack had two little ideas. The first, Twitter, was the product of him and his coworkers at a company called Odeo, brainstorming, trying to come up with an idea to change the company that they were currently running, Odeo, which had been designed to capitalize on podcasts, a technology which never took off, and to redeploy the capital that they'd raised into something new and different. Twitter itself started with 2005, 2006. Jack Dorsey was its inventor. It was his suggestion that got things started. He worked with a team of three people to build up Twitter. The company has gone big. Dorsey has grew with it, was CEO for a while, kicked out, back again. Twitter itself struggled over a long period due to problems in executive leadership. Basically, one of the founders was a world-class jerk, and that had important implications for Twitter. The jerk is now gone. The company is going well. But in the wake of that ongoing leadership struggle, circa 2009, uh, Jack Dorsey was talking to a friend who was complaining who was a potter, a glassblower, as a matter of fact, and had a little problem that he had lost a sale because he could not process the credit card. That got Jack going, and started to think about what would it take to allow the individual to access and make use of credit cards. The outcome was a product called Square, and it's based on a couple of fundamental propositions. The value proposition for individuals was to make credit card processing available to only iPhones and apps. To do so, you needed something called a dongle, so you could swipe the credit card. But he reasoned that a flat fee, no hidden charges, next day deposits into your account, and the ability to provide the individual with analytics to track their purchase would allow them to derive value from signing up with Square. And so we've now gone through a few iPhone Squares. The new one on the right hand side is the one that's being shipped to me as we speak. He also came up with a value proposition for merchants. That was simply make credit card processing available to small merchants. Here he offered them the idea of a flat fee, $275 a month for billing volumes within a particular range, or 2.75% on transactions. He offered next day deposits on most charges, which was a great deal. He levered the relationship to the merchants by offering software analytics that were attractive, and eventually was able to build that out by offering them yet another transactional advantage by coupling app software on an iPad with a cash register to allow them to replace the expensive cash register rentals that they've been paying from their existing providers. So when you look at it now, the register, the iPad register looks like this: straightforward, simple, a swipe on the side, and provides convenient analytics where you can tell what your transactions are, work at them by time of day, refunds. Provides an awful lot of information that can be valuable and affect your merchandising practices. The value proposition for the seller was actually straightforward. Uh, Square is, simply put, a credit card aggregator. It's not a processor. The processing itself, the taking of the charge and charging it back to the credit card in the home bank, is done by J.P. Morgan Chase and a company and an outfit they run called Chase Payment Tech. They put the charges back to the home card. The cost of that is Square pays the same rates as other merchants. On small volumes, it's 1.67% plus 11 cents per transactions. Yeah, and for very, very large merchants, Chase Payment Tech charges 0.05% per purchase plus 22 cents per transaction. So what Square is doing is rolling up those charges and making money on the difference between the 1.67 and 0.22 cents per transaction and the 2.75. Uh, the aggregators, in this case Chase, was delighted. Not only are they paying the same rates, but they're providing access to a new huge market that they had not previously accessed, the individuals. They reduce cost by bearing credit risk. Here, Square was implemented policies to accept some of the credit risk that was otherwise borne by processors, so they were delighted with that. And they provided services that increased the credit balance charge through. The value add proposition most recently, last Christmas, was the addition of the gift card. The neat thing about these gift cards is not only are they easy to send and not involve pieces of plastic, but you can actually send somebody a gift card for purchase toward a specific item, so that you can go to the store, shop, go to Square, click, and actually send them a gift card for specific things, which is a little bit more meaningful perhaps than sending Junior a $25 check. For the merchant, they always like it, because when you're using the Square wallet and the Square register, you can not only pay with it, but it will track your purchases and so forth. So what you end up with is a value proposition that's terrific. Square is able to process charges for individuals, small merchants, and even large companies like Starbucks alike. They offer and they bring new markets to the seller side, and they facilitate small credit card processing by small merchants. Uh, and so they've put together themselves into a really wonderful position as an intermediary, um, adding value to the entire proposition, and have a classic multi-sided platform strategy in place. Banks, merchants, individuals are the customers. Pricing to individuals is made accessible. Merchants, they are very priced very competitively for low volume merchants and those with small purchases. They've actually gone into a loss leader position with Starbucks. They are not making money on the $5 purchase. They break even at about $8, but Starbucks did put a significant amount of equity into the company, so they're also a co-owner. The banks love the volume. Square manages credit risk. And Square actually addresses the governance issues because they implement standard credit practices on the sell side, but they're restrictive actually on the merchant side. Their terms are actually quite harsh. Their customer service is poor, they withhold deposits, so they're very good for the small vendor who is otherwise victimized. They're not effective for the larger vendor who can afford to access the services of the full providers. And the terms to the individual themselves are actually quite harsh. The difference here is that the individuals really don't know it much better. The service wasn't available to them before, and they're not particular, and quite frankly, they don't care. So what's interesting about it? What's interesting is Square did not start out as a multi-sided platform strategy. It was one-sided. They were simply an intermediary targeting individuals. It grew organically over time, levering technology developments both in the app market. It was greatly facilitated by the introduction of the iPad, which followed a year after the introduction of Square. It was facilitated by the fact that all the banks have gone into mobile banking, pushed by Intuit, PayPal, other folks as well. And the availability and market acceptance of data analytics made the value proposition from them very attractive. We use the term disruptive technology quite a bit. Is this disruptive? Well, it seems at first like one would say it's an inferior, low cost technology, flat rate. But what it does is change its price, not the range of services offered. Chase Payment Tech matches all the services offered by Square at better rates for large merchants, and Square fundamentally is an aggregator, not a processor. It's reducing cost for people in the process. It's not changing the transaction process. That being said, they did 12 billion last year. That's 0.01% of the gross domestic product of the United States. This is a big company and a terrific success. So we see in Square and in Jack Dorsey themselves someone who has twice now introduced a multi-sided platform strategy that led to the rise of their products, Twitter and Square, as highly effective, highly successful, fundamentally transformative services that have impacted our marketplace, and they serve as terrific examples of what a multi-sided strategy is all about.